Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order and acknowledge that we're in Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, the Nunu, Cree, and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. My name is Lynn Nesbitt, and I'm chairing the panel today. Joining me on the panel is Ian Mann via Zoom and Doug Marks to my right. Our assessor is Arka Adarkanov, and our hearing secretary is Stephen Lunn. To the Zoom participants of the hearing, please note you are placed in the waiting room until your property is called upon. When it is your turn, you'll be admitted into the meeting. Kindly follow along on the City of Winnipeg's Board of Revision YouTube channel for the hearing process. Once the host admits you into the hearing, please close or mute your YouTube player. You will then be permitted to speak with respect to your property. Once your hearing has concluded, you can leave the meeting. We'll be hearing applications for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. We advise that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by Council and is independent of it in the City Administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decision with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony, followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all of the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You'll receive the board's decision by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. We'll be hearing items 1 through 8 on our docket today. Mr. Lund, please affirm the assessor's and applicant's testimony.
Mr. Assessor, please state your full name.
Arka Adarkanov.
Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I affirm.
Thank you. Mr. Navarro, please stand up. Please state your full name.
Marcel Navarro.
Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Good afternoon, everyone. Just with respect to the order that we'll hear on our docket today, we're going to move item number 1 to the bottom of our agenda. So that means we're going to start with item number 2 on our agenda, 650 Archibald Street. Mr. Assessor, when you're ready, you can begin your presentation, please.
Okay. So item number 2, Board of Revision file number 222391. Applicant Altos Group Limited, roll number 0609301600, address 650 Archibald Street, owner Red River Cooperative Limited, roll year 2023, reference date April 3rd, 2021, assessed value $2,451,000. Classification is 60, liability is taxable. Property description, a little bit about it. It's property consists of 2 buildings. Year built 2005. Wall height 13 to 14 feet. Land area 49,469 square feet. Plan area 3,636 square feet. Okay. So zoning is M1 manufacturing. And on page 2, if you follow along, and page 3 as well, we have aerial pictures of subject property. So what we're looking at is a gas station. So subject property is a co-op gas station which consists of convenience store, car wash, as well as buildings such as canopy, pumps, and fuel storage tanks. Again, as I said, pages 2 and 3 provide aerial view of subject property. Subject property located on Archibald Street, just south of intersection Archibald and Marion. And it's just south of the Tim Hortons store. You can see it on picture number 2, just north of subject property, the Tim Hortons store. So subject property consists of 2 income streams. On page 5, we can start with income stream number 1. Income stream number 1 is abbreviated as SKP, basically, which is relates to a convenience store. It's 1,785 square feet at a rent of $43.24 per square foot. Potential rent $77,183,000. City applies 2% vacancy loss and arrives at effective gross income of $75,639,000. For non-recoverable expenses, city uses 3% non-recoverable expenses and $6 per square foot for a shortfall rate. This gives us a net operating income of $73,156. Capitalization rate of 5.15% provides a capitalized value of $1,420,505. In addition, we are adding additional building value of $746,000 and arriving at estimated value of $2,167,000. Additional building value of $746 consists of canopy for the gas station, fuel pumps for the gas stations, as well as fuel storage tanks for the gas station. Page 6, income stream number 2. We're looking at 1,851 square foot building, which is a car wash. And we apply a rate of $10.78 per square foot at $19.90, which gives us a potential rent of $19,954. Applying 2% for vacancy loss, $3 for expenses for non-recoverable expenses, and $6 for a shortfall gives us a net operating income of $18,746. Capitalization rate for a car wash is 6.6%, and capitalized value is $2,284,000. Page 7 gives a breakdown of what is included in additional building value. So highlighted yellow are the items that are included as part of the additional building value calculation for the purposes of accounting for fuel tanks, fuel pumps, and the canopy. Page 8 gives us income value summary, and it basically summarizes what I have described already, how City of Winnipeg arrived at the assessed value of $2,451,000. Just below it, we provide a blended rate of what a blended rate would be for 2 income streams, and applying 3,636 square feet, and we're arriving at blended rate of $26.72. Page 9 are the comparable rents we are using for the gas stations. So there is 14 comparable rents. They are standard comparables that have been used during 2023 appeal cycle for the properties that are gas stations with car washes or without. And in this particular case, the only comparable which has a combined car wash and convenience store is comparable number 9, which is 690 sterling wine. It's very close in square footage to subject property, almost identical, 3,625 square foot at $31.72 per square foot blended rate. Rest of the comparables are either pure car washes, which is comparable number 3 and comparable number 10, or just a convenience store for the gas stations. By looking at the evidence provided by the applicant, it would appear that the only thing we have to contest at this hearing are the non-recoverable expenses and the cap rates, which that are different. Hence, we can I'll continue on with okay. So page 10 until page 23 provides aerial view of comparable properties used for comparable rents. So all of the 14 comparable properties that are used are provided in the pages 10 through 23. And now if we flip to page 24, there is a capitalization rate table that City of Winnipeg uses. And column number, City of Winnipeg April 1st, 2021 column shows the percentages, cap rate percentages that our City of Winnipeg applies for properties such as office, industrial, retail, and multifamily. 20th and 80th percentile would be, for example, office suburban B, 5.6 to 6.9. So that is the column that City of Winnipeg uses for provides for cap rates, as well as some other cap rates provided by Colliers, CBRE, and Cushman Wakefield. And following pages gives us income and expense mail that was submitted by the property owner, which basically states that the property is owner occupied. That is all I have for my presentation, and I am open to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Navarro, do you have any questions?
I do, thank you. These are the same sales that you used throughout your presentations today for the other gas stations?
RM comparables. Yes,
Okay.
they're the same. Yeah, they're not sales. They're RM comparables.
Okay. And in terms of your capitalization rate, you split it into 2 income streams, I see, and you have a 6.6 capitalization rate on the car wash and a 5.15 on the C-store. Now, can you tell me where the model is deriving these cap rates from?
Well, the model is deriving cap rates based on information received from sales of properties that were reported to the city. So those cap rates would have to be derived from there. It's a regression model that City of Winnipeg uses. That is basically as close as I can describe it for you. I don't think I can provide you specific properties that were used in the model. Okay.
Do you have any sales of gas stations that you know of?
As far as I know, I cannot say. I don't know of any I cannot speak to it as I haven't looked into which sales were used in the model.
But did you look up any sales yourself?
No, I did not.
Okay. And in terms of your the reasoning for splitting up the income streams and having different capitalization rates, do you know what the purpose of that is?
Well, again, it is my understanding that properties such as subject property, which is a gas station with convenience store and the car wash, historically has been treated that way. There is, and it's often done like within the model, right, where certain things are split based on the premise use. So there will be a premise for the convenience store, premise for the car wash, sometimes premises for the restaurants are also part of it. So and they're split.
Would you say that this is, would you say that this is correct, that this is more an administrative issue than the way that a property would be sold or exchanged in the marketplace?
I would have to say that if the property is to be sold, and let's assume the subject property is to be sold, blending whoever is buying it would be buying one unit, and they would consider application of they would consider application of all items involved in this particular incomes, right? So whether it's a car wash or convenience store, fuel, etc., would be considered by a potential buyer. Most likely would be.
Right.
And that spoken, I would agree with you that they would consider blending the rates and like arriving at some sort of a common value. And you can see in my city does it too, right? Like yes, it is a kind of administrative, but it also arrives from what's going on, right? So there is car washes, and modelers do look at car washes. There is kiosks, and modelers do look at kiosks. Those items would be considered in developing it, and also like when you combine it, it also arrives at it also combines it, right? So like even if you look at I guess my income summary report on page number 8, right? It provides a summary, right, where it blends potential rents, where it blends effective gross incomes, where it blends net operating incomes, as well as cap rates.
On the topic of development, would you say that there would be additional risk to a purchaser if they wanted to redevelop this property in terms of remediation?
Okay, so your question is if the use would be anything other than a gas station. Is that what you're leaning to?
I'm asking that if this gas station were ever changed in use, there is some inherent risk in it simply because there is always remediation issues with gas stations, correct?
To my knowledge, that is often, like I cannot say whether it's always or not, but to my knowledge, I think it does. Like gas stations would typically constitute some sort of I guess would the use of gas station similar to some other vehicle-related services typically put a property on a list for contaminated properties. Now, whether it's true contamination or not, that is yet to be determined. And has there been remediation involved in the past? Yes, there has. Is it always the case? I cannot say. But just being on a contamination list by itself, province does have that list, does not mean that the remediation is required or that it is significant. That is to the best of my knowledge.
Okay, thank you. And on page 7, your cost items, are these prepared by you or are they prepared by someone else?
These cost items on page 7 is the model prepared.
Okay, those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Navarro. Mr. Mann, do you have any questions?
I do, just with respect to the capitalization. I'll try to focus on that. The columns at your page 24, Mr. Assessor, you've got office, industrial, retail, multifamily, hotel. I think I can pretty much disregard some of those, but the you led off your evidence by indicating this is zoning M1. But these would be classified in this column or in these columns as retail, or are they falling in some of the industrial cap rate?
Well, to the best of my knowledge, because subject property, like within the office, again, it's administrative, within the administrative section of the office section within the department, the model is using office cap rates for this type of property.
For both the kiosk and the car wash area?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And the retail aspect of the kiosk, well, I guess the major retail aspect of the kiosk presumably would be gas sales. If you don't know, that's fine.
yeah, it's a good question. I would assume it, like in reality, I don't think city tracks it. And what is the major aspect of the retail of the gas station? So to answer your question, would be like, I haven't done the study.
Okay.
I don't think the city has either as to what drives the sales, whether it's fuel or any other items that are being sold in the kiosks. So I wouldn't you would assume it's reasonable by just looking at the reasonableness of it. Gas stations typically would get majority of their income on the gas sales.
Okay.
However, without looking at actual ledgers of the subject of the particular gas station, you wouldn't know.
Okay, fair enough. And my final question is with respect to the size of the, we've got the square footage of the kiosk and the gas station. The pump area, though, is it 8 double pumps here? I'm just looking at the pictures. I can't, that's the amount I come up with. Would that be correct, or is there something I'm missing?
Well, let's look at the actual report. Okay. So,
I'm looking at page 3, page 3 and page 2 for the picture.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Looks like 8 double pumps. Does that seem right?
So there's 8 pumps, and that is on page 7 of the report. That's line item number 91177, 8 fuel products.
Oh, yes. Okay, great. I do see that now. Okay, thank you very much. Those are my questions.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mann. Mr. Marks, do you have any questions?
Just one. The expenses on this property, are they model driven?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Okay, and I have no additional questions. So, Mr. Navarro.
Thank you. So this is 650 Archibald Street, and you can have a look at the property on page 6, that is the overhead view. And you can see that that long, slender looking parcel is the railway. So it abuts the railway. And you can see that railway on page 7 as well. And this is fronting Archibald Street. There's a property description on page 8, which I will just pass over and directly go to page 12, which is the income approach. So we've combined it somewhat. And, you know, the way that I'll explain this is that for us, it's the logical way to look at it. We are looking at one property, so one income stream. We don't see a need to separate them out. And sometimes it works in our favor and sometimes it doesn't. In this case, obviously, we've assessed or estimated the net market rent annually slightly higher than the assessor has. And the way that we've looked at this is that we've got a similar set of comparables that we've used on the previous properties that we've looked at, you know, gas stations. We organize them in a different way this time. And you'll see the color coding there. So the kind of orangey color, those are simple kiosks, relatively small. And then there are the C-stores, which are a little bit larger, no car wash attached. Those are in blue. And then we have the combination C-store car wash, and those would be the ones that are in green. Now, obviously, we're comparing a C-store car wash to a C-store car wash. So that's where we're driving the $30 rate from. And again, we've gone slightly higher than the assessor has in this case. That just happened to be where it fell. In terms of vacancy allowance, 2% shortfall, $6. Non-recovered expenses, we haven't deviated from this, 7%. Capitalization rate, we generally distinguish between the best locations, what we call the locations below that, and then there are the low quality locations. It's derived from the retail cap rates. So in this example, we've taken from the retail standard quality at its lowest rate of 6.75. Now, we do think that there is always risk in a property, any retail property, especially properties that are dependent on consumption. So gas stations, of course, are pumping out gas, and it is dependent that they pump out as much as possible in order to meet their expenses. Now, you'll note also that there have been changes also in government policy regarding the carbon tax. So that all eats away at the potential profits of these gas stations. The government policy is intended essentially to curb consumption, curb demand. So it has done that. A lot of these gas stations, if you look at them properly and look at how their margins are distributed, you'll see that there is a portion that goes to the fuel producers, the OPECs, all of those that actually pump the fuel out of, or pump the oil out of the ground. And then there are the refiners, the gas wholesalers, and then finally the owner operators of these properties. Everybody gets a cut of that. And the smallest margin actually goes to the owner operator. So they're essentially functioning at about 2 to 6% in terms of their margins. And that's why we think that there is risk in these properties. Essentially, in order to make a go of one of these properties, you're having to sell pop and cigarettes and all of those other things that you see at gas stations. The real profits aren't really coming from the gas, simply because there's too many hands in the pie, as you would say. So we do think that there is risk in these properties, just like there is in other retail properties. So we don't agree with the use of office capitalization rates because they really don't relate to this type of property. 6.75 is where we're at. And on page 15, you can see our valuation. $30 is the rent, and 2% vacancy applied to that. That gives us 106,898. Expenses of 79,19. That gives us $98,979. Capitalized at 6.75. That gives us 1,466,348 with adjustments of 746,000. Those are those cost elements that the assessor also spoke of. We have an end value of 2,212,358 or 2,212,000. My appendix, what you will find is the submissions of the owner. There are only expenses as this is owner occupied, and I am open for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Navarro. Mr. Darkanoff, do you have any questions of Mr. Navarro's evidence?
Just a couple of quick questions. So you stated that you use the highest capitalization rate point based on your chart on page number 14, right? Which is 6.75 is the highest. Is that correct?
Well, for that category, the highest would be 6.25, but those I kind of reserve for the best locations.
Oh, like percentage-wise highest, like 6.75, right? Which is higher than 6.25. That's a retail top quality you're using, right? Or is retail, retail standard quality, right?
Yes, retail standard.
Okay. So within that, you're using as a lower end of it, right? 6.75. Okay. Okay. Could you explain where would the gas station have to be to fall into a standard quality retail or top quality or low quality?
Well, the top quality would be the best locations that are in the largest hub areas. So you would see them in regional shopping centers like Sterling Lion or Kenaston, Regent Avenue. Those would be the Polo Park area even. Those would be the hubs where you get the most traffic flow and where I would consider the premium locations. This would be a standard location, in my opinion. It's got good frontage, probably good traffic flow, but again, not as attractive as those other locations that I've mentioned. And the retail low quality would be those ones that are kind of inset in neighborhoods that are not typically well situated. So that's how I rationalize it.
Okay, no, that's thanks for clearing it out. And another question is: would having more income streams would that affect the way a potential buyer would think about a property and say, okay, this property has, for example, more income streams. It has a car wash, it has kiosks. Hence, I think it's less of a risk than, for example, just a gas station without a car wash.
Well, you'll note that I said that there is one income stream. However, yes, I mean, an owner would look at all of the income that's coming in from the property, whether it's business related, or related to the real estate. In this case, there's not really that much coming in terms of the real estate. It's all business value. Most of the income that comes into this property is one, either gas pump related sales of inventory or sales of car washes. That all gets jumbled together. and we use one income stream, yes. We don't see the purpose of splitting this up. There are unique circumstances, for example, where we will split up the properties. For example, if you have overly large, excessively large car washes, for example, and a small kiosk. So we know that, you know, the income contribution from the car wash, it will likely exceed that of the kiosk. In those cases, we split it up, but in reality, we're still looking at the one income stream. We do it more so to make it easier for everyone else to look to, in other words, understand it. But for the most part, if we're having you know, an equally sized car wash versus an equally sized C-store, we don't see a real need to separate the two income streams out. And like I said before, we're taking from the rents that we have as examples here, as comparables. And at the same time, I'll just leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. No, that's good. Yeah. No, I understand that. I guess what I wanted to see, like, that subject property does have, like, even though we treat, you guys would treat it as one income stream, it does have income stream for car wash, whereas, for example, a gas station without a car wash would not have that income stream altogether. Hence, perhaps that would affect the cap rate in, tend to drive the cap rate into a lower percentages.
I would say to that there are many property types where you have multiple income streams in them. And, you know, sometimes you separate them out and sometimes you keep them together. And I don't really think it's an issue with this, to tell you the truth, because if we combine your income streams and we'll look at these properties going forward, in most cases, we're coming out quite close to each other. And in some cases, we're coming out higher. So it really, I don't think really makes too much of a difference.
Okay, well, those are all my questions. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Mr. Marks, do you have any questions?
No questions. Mine have been answered. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mann.
Just with respect to the retail cap rates found at page 14 of your brief, Mr. Navarro, the retail cap rates, these are not gas stations, C-store, and car wash specific rates, are they? They're just your umbrella, under the umbrella of general retail?
Absolutely. And we submitted a retail capitalization rate study. I think at this point, most people have probably heard it at one time or another. However, yes, we view these as retail properties. To give you some background on sales, I mean, there are not many gas station sales to come. You'll bump into them every once in a while, but really, I think to establish a methodology in terms of capitalizing the income in a model, I would find it very difficult to do that, given the lack of sales information. So yes, we do borrow from the retail umbrella. We can call it that.
Okay, thank you. That was all I had wanted clarification of. I have nothing else.
Thank you.
Thank you. And my question about the two income streams has been discussed already. So thank you very much for that. Is there a desire for summation? Mr. Darkanov?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Navarro?
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you. Right, that concludes item number 2. Item number 3 on our agenda is 518 Archibald Street. Mr. Darkanov, when you're ready, please.
So file number 222708, applicant Altus Group Limited. Roll number 060308-45000. Address 518 Archibald Street. Owner 1003667 Manitoba Inc. roll year 2023, reference date April 1st, 2021. Assessed value $1,582,000. Classification 60, liability taxable. Property consists of one building with two premises. Year built 1988. Zoning M2 manufacturing. Land area 39,533 square feet. Land area 6,000 square feet. Leasable area 6,576 square feet. Typically, next page would follow with some pictures of the subject property. So in this case, we provide aerial view as well as Google Street View of subject property. So page 2 shows an aerial view of subject property. It's a vehicle service repair garage. Well, actually, vehicle service garage. Page 3 provides a street view. It's because it's I believe this is an older Google Street View. So Brothers Auto Body may not be the current tenant there. I'll double check on the proper information once I get to it. Page 4, so the property did have a post-reference sale on May 3rd, 2022. All the information about the sale is blocked out because it is post-reference. Page 5, so we are dealing with only one income stream. So two premises, one premise for 6,000 square feet at $17.57 per square foot, another premise for 576 square feet at $20.68 per square foot. Gives a potential rent of $117,332. It was a vacancy loss of 2% and the standard city application of 3% for non-recoverable expenses, $6 per square foot for a shortfall. We would arrive at net operating income of $110,746. Capitalization rate of 7% is applied in this case, and that gives us a capitalized value of $1,582,000. So page 6 again provides a brief summary of income stream. Since we have just one income stream, it's basically for the most part a mirror copy of what I just spoke to you about. Page 7, 15 comparables. Those are standard vehicle service garage comparables that the city of Winnipeg is using. During 2023 a fuel cycle, and those 15 would be all inclusive. Sometimes panel members would see another blend of lower end and higher end comparables, but in this case, all of the possible 15 comparables are presented. We arrive basically just looking at averages and medians. So average is $16.42 per square foot, median is $15.50 per square foot. Okay, weighted average $14.53 per square foot. Again, follow pages 8 through pages 22 would present comparable aerial and street view of comparable 15 comparables presented as evidence, and page 23 would provide the capitalization rate table used by the city of Winnipeg. It's a standard table. Next, we would have on page 25 income and expense mailer, and typically this particular, if you look through it, like last page 33 would show that it hasn't been returned to us, but it was again, as I mentioned, current owner has nothing to, didn't have anything to do with income and expense mailer. So that is all I have for the presentation, and I'm open to your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Adarkana. Mr. Navarro, do you have any questions?
I do. Mr. Assessor, can you turn to page 3 of your brief
Yes.
and just keep that one in hand? And let's turn to your comparables page, which is on page 7. Okay. I went through these rental comparables a few days ago. And what I will note is, if you can look at number 1, comp 1, in terms of the location and quality, do you think that this is somewhat more comparable to the subject than some of your other comparables?
I would have to say that comparable number 1 at 75 Strathcona has a similar building type. It's a smaller building. It's only 2,750 square feet compared to subject property at 6,000 plus. I believe it's 6,500 square feet, somewhere there.
Right.
But as far as build type, it's like if you wouldn't look at the size, you'd kind of like say, okay, they're somewhat comparable. However, subject property again on page 3 does show like it has 2 stories for the office part of the building. As you can see on top of page 3, you have a door to the left of the garage door, and you have 2 stories for what would appear to be an office space. Comp number 1 does not have that, and it would have an inferior office space. I actually did the inspection of comparable number 175 Strathcona a couple of years ago, and that is a below average vehicle service garage when it comes to level of finish and level of quality of the office space.
Right. So I'll ask you to turn to comp number 5 now, which is 118 Chevry. Is this more up to the quality of the subject?
Again, this particular property, again, just by looking at it, would present similar box construction, 1 garage door in the front, smaller. I guess it's wouldn't have that second floor office, which makes such comparable number 5 a bit inferior. This particular property does not. It's basically pretty much building with very little lot space available. If you see to the right of that picture on page number 12, that particular property is a hydro. I believe it belongs to the property, and there is some agreement, an additional agreement for the business to use that land to park those vehicles, but the parcel itself on comparable number 5 is much smaller and does not have the similar, I guess, does not offer similar luxuries, if you want to use that word, for vehicle-related business to park excess vehicles. And if you turn back to page 2 of my report, you can see aerial view of subject property. You see a building, 6,000 square foot building to the left, and a massive lot of 39,533 square feet to afford a more, I guess, would afford a more advantage for a vehicle usage type of I guess business, whether it's a auto body repair shop or something else.
And we could probably say the same for comp 10 and comp 13 again. where we have properties that are probably more similar to our subject. Would you not agree?
Well, comp 10 again is probably a bit more similar to the subject. It has square footage and the lot size. It offers that. Again, but the quality of the build on subject property would be slightly better. Absolutely, those particular buildings would be your probably I would probably classify them as if subject property is average, those things would be below average in terms of building quality, in my opinion.
Okay. And I guess the last one is 2645 Pembina Highway. I'm not going to actually ask you about this one because, again, the ones that front major routes, for example, Portage Avenue or Pembina Highway, McPhillips Street, would those have an advantage over a property like this?
Well, Pembina Highway, absolutely, major road, something like Pembina Highway would.
Okay.
Yeah, comparable certain, since you brought it up. Yes, I did also inspect this property a couple of years ago. And again, it's a basic basic vehicle service garage, like very fair condition office space, very small office space. It's a 3,000 square foot a garage, which again limits a vehicle service garage, vehicle service related applications. Subject property, of course, is larger, and however, location wise, absolutely. Archibald versus Pembina, since Pembina has better exposures, absolutely.
And regarding the quality of the building, you mentioned that this has a good quality. However, this is just a standard metal frame workshop, correct? With some brick veneer in the front?
It has, well, it is a workshop. It would appear it's a two-story. It has a higher, it's 18-foot ceiling height. Well, it's 18-foot wall height, and it does. And yes, brick veneer, for whatever it adds, it does that. But it also has two-story office. So all of those components combined would kind of lead you to the idea that subject property building-wise probably a bit better.
Right. So you're talking about.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So you're talking that, or what you're saying is that this is two-story, but really what it has is a 576 square foot mezzanine, correct?
So there is a mezzanine, yes.
Okay. And on page 1 of your report, you can see that the number of stories that you have there is 1, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So what we have essentially, you will agree that we're just talking about a small mezzanine there?
Actually, yes. Thanks for correcting me. I kind of, yeah, I probably, you're right.
Okay. In a garage, which is not a rare thing to see, correct?
Yeah, but again, within the garage area, there is storage mezzanines, which are
okay.
But this one has windows, and it would be it would still be treated as mezzanine. However, would probably be a bit of a better quality mezzanine.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
No,
Mr.
I'm fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mann, do you have any questions for the assessor?
Just one with respect to the rent comparables on page 6. We've heard a lot about the different comparables, which might be closer, which might be not. Which are the 2 best comps that you would apply to this subject property, Mr. Assessor?
Okay, I would say probably comparable number 9 would be a decent comparable. However, not far as best comes, like we've covered them, like what applicant has mentioned, comparable number 10 would qualify. Comparable number 9 would also qualify, even though it has to be adjusted for location, for example, St. Mary's Road, and as well as a showroom that or the comparable 9 has. Like comparable number 5 that applicant mentioned. Again, that would have to be adjusted for building and for lot size. So like there is like, unfortunately for this particular one, there isn't a true comparable that you can just say, okay, this is the comparable that it is the closest one. All of them would have to be adjusted one way or the other. Comparable number 1 that applicant mentioned is also like a good comparable in a sense that it is pretty much similar location-wise. It's Sadacona location would be inferior to the Archibald location, and then again the building would be inferior as well. So all of those items combined would have to be considered.
Okay, thank you. I have nothing further.
Thank you, Mr. Mann. Mr. Marks?
No questions, thank you.
I also have a question on the comparables. I guess what I would like to know first, though, is what is the particular use of the subject property? Is it an auto body shop?
Well, to my knowledge, and again, I have mentioned that there has been a recent sale of subject property. So on May 3rd, it was sold. I believe to the best of my knowledge, the use is continuous as auto body shop.
An auto body shop, okay. Some of your comparables, I noted, just as we were going through quickly, we didn't go through every single one. Comp 2 is a Fountain Tire. Comp 4 is a Midas Muffler. You're using these types of shops as comparables to your auto body shop. Can you explain how they are relevant? I'm sure there's a few more like that in there.
Yeah.
What I was looking for was particularly auto body shops.
Okay, I see. So again, like with the vehicle service garages, the selection of comparables is limited. A lot of them are owner occupied and hence are not used as comparables to establish the rent value. So it is treated similarly to vehicle service repair garages, but as comparables are presented. I do not, myself, I don't think outside comparable number 11 on Lakewood Boulevard, which is Boyd Auto Body and Glass, that's probably the only auto body shop that we would have in my comparable reports. But again,
Okay.
that has been that the selection is very much limited to or the comparable to arrive to get comparable net comparable rents from the properties that are vehicle service related.
Yeah, I do appreciate that difficulty for sure. Do you think that the use of some of those properties, I mean, we're coming on your own evidence on the table, I've now lost the table, page, I'm sorry, 7. You have an average of $16.42 and a weighted average of $14.53. Your model comes in higher at $17.84. So I wonder if you could comment on that.
Well, again, like 1784, it's higher than the averages. However, it does fall within the, I guess, the ranges, right? Because the ranges go like some of them are $29, $20 per square foot. So even though the averages are, let's say, 14 or 16, what was the average? $16.42 per square foot was the average. However, when you look at the range and you apply, as I said, you have to adjust certain things to account for building, I guess, quality, building types of those comparables, lot sizes as well, and then you would see like what would a subject property most likely be rented at, right? So would if as we have looked at comparable number, to find it. Comparable number 5 on Chevrier at $12 per square foot. That one doesn't have a land, right? So it's location wise on Chevrier. I mean, it's probably traffic wise, it's very probably slightly inferior to Archibald, I would say, but overall the building is would offer less to a potential, I guess, entrepreneur who wants to do something with vehicle service related things, as well as lot size is not available to store vehicles. So would subject property offers those benefits? And when we look at the size of the subject property, which is slightly less than 1 acre, 39,000 some square feet, 39,533 square feet, larger building type, and with all of those little perks, and they offer a bit more, and I think it's they would.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Navarro?
Okay. We're looking at 518 Archibald Street, and you can have a look at the general location on page 6. And the property there on page 7. So we've got a set of comparables on page 11. Unfortunately, we don't have pictures like the assessor has. So I was actually looking at some of the locations while the assessor was talking, just to make sure that I could speak to them. But for example, number 2 is trucking repair related. Number 3 is auto repair related. Number 4 is, again, auto repair related, glass related. So that's a Speedy glass. Number 5, 1819 Logan is auto body repair. And number 7 is, again, trucking auto repair, trucking repair. So as the assessor, I mean, there's some issues with finding exact comparables for auto bodies. So we have to take from different areas, which is vehicle related. We came up with a set of 7, an average of $12.52. I think that is probably more in line with what the assessor was actually looking at in the comparables that I pointed out in the assessor's evidence. So we put a rent of $12.50 on this, a vacancy of 2%, $6 shortfall, 5% non-recoverables. That is actually 7%. Capitalization rate. So we've picked a 7.25 capitalization rate on this, and we note that this is in an area where zoning is industrial. So the uses around this facility are industrial, and that is why we are not sticking strictly to a retail cap rate. In a way, it's a way of blending in two methodologies here. We're looking at retail and we're looking at industrial. So the final capitalization rate that we chose on this property is 7.25. Again, you can go through the income approach summary. We have an income value of $1,022,455 or $1,022,000. And in terms of the submission, there is no additional submission. As you could see in the assessor's evidence, this property sold in 2022. So the current owner wouldn't have been in the care and control of the information that was submitted or should have been submitted in 2020. And that is my presentation. I'm open for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Navarro. Mr. Darkanoff, do you have any questions?
Well, actually, I do, and my question would relate to item on comparables that applicant is using, which would be comparable number 1, 6, and 7. I did prepare quickly put together a rebuttal package which relates to it, and I would like you, I guess, to that to be introduced at this time.
Well, Mr. Darkanoff, perhaps we can go through your questions first,
Okay.
and our questions.
Okay, sounds good.
We'll get to rebuttal.
Okay. Okay, so yes, Mr. Applicant, Marcelo, do you I noticed that you used those 7 comparables. Would you for sure know whether they are net rents or owner occupied rents, or represent the most recent rate that that is being used?
So we have a database that we download rents from, just like you do. So some of them are verified ahead of time. We like to have these verified prior to a hearing, but in this case, no, I haven't looked at all of them, but generally we have taken at least 1 or 2 looks at this.
Okay. Yeah, I guess would you like I guess, yeah, we'll come back. I guess I'll come back to it in my other like in my rebuttal evidence as far as some of the comparables goes here, just because from what I was able to notice, similar comparables are being used as well in later files to be presented by the board. So those are all my questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Marks, do you have any questions?
No questions from me, thank you.
Mr. Mann?
No, I don't, thank you.
Okay, and I don't have questions either. So, Mr. Darkanoff, just give us a minute and we will get your rebuttal evidence. Okay. We'll just take a couple minute recess while we get the rebuttal evidence, okay?
Thank you.
I'd like to call the meeting back to order. We're dealing with item number 3, 518 Archibald Street. And Mr. Darkanoff, you are going to present your rebuttal evidence, please.
As for my rebuttal, I was able to, I guess, quickly take a look at comparables that are being presented by the applicant, and run some I guess searches about it, and just wanted to bring to the attention of the board item number 1, 140 Borman. This is income and expense mailer presented to the city, and that would appear to be a gross lease. As you can see, the net lease was crossed out and the gross lease was checked off. And another, like at the bottom of the page, you can also see that it's the rent is not a net rent, and I would I guess probably would consider that not to be rent value to be relied on, as well as item number 6, 476 Provincial Boulevard. Again, the property appears to be fully owner occupied, and the rent presented would be classified as probably a book rent, and should not be relied on as well. And at the bottom of the last page of my rebuttal evidence is comparable number 7, 120 King Edward Street East. Again, applicant is using what appears to be an older rate of $8.50 per square foot, whereas you can see that more appropriate rate for April 1st, 2021 would probably be $10 per square foot. And this particular rebuttal, if board can take a note of, would probably apply to other items on the docket that are vehicle service related, where similar comparables are being presented as well. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Of course, thank you very much. Mr. Navarro, do you have questions on the rebuttal?
Yes. In terms of your comparable number 7, which is 120 King Edward Street, so you're saying that the current rent is actually $9.50.
Well, it says from March 20 to February 21st, it's $9.50. From March 2021 to February 22 is which falls.
Mr. Darkanoff, could you just speak up a little bit? Sorry, you're
yeah.
fading out.
Okay, so current rate would be $10 because we are dealing with the reference date of April 1st, 2021, and March 2021 to February 22 would be $10.
Okay. And obviously there would be some adjustment to that rent for location, size, all of those things, correct?
Oh, this is actual rent.
No, I mean, in comparison to our subject.
Oh, okay. Well, probably we would have to consider that, yes. Again,
Okay.
I just looked at income and expense mailer. We've discussed a lot about type of building it is, but most likely, yes.
Hmm. And would it, I'll leave that question. In terms of your first comparison on Warman Road, now that is a gross lease, correct?
It appears to be a gross lease, yes.
Okay, it does appear to be a gross lease. It seems like they were ticking net and then they circled gross. And that may have been why it threw someone off on this rent. However, the rent itself is $11.49 gross, correct?
Well, it is. That's what it is. I didn't do the math, but
Okay.
I would trust that's what it is based on your
So
calculation.
if you netted this rent out, it would be lower, correct?
In a sense, you would be, but then you would have to look at other items on what else is involved. So I would just say that it is not a net rent to be considered without I guess without doing any adjustments and trying to figure out what else is there, right?
Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Navarro. Mr. Mann, do you have questions on the rebuttal evidence?
I do not, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Marks?
Nor do I, thank you.
And I don't either. So, Mr. Assessor, is there a desire for summation?
I'm good, thank you.
Right, Mr. Navarro?
I'm good.
Yeah. We'll move to item number 4 on our agenda, 971 Dugald. Go ahead, Mr. Assessor, when you're ready.
So subject property was a file, Board of Revision file number 222607. Applicant Altus Group Limited, roll number 0605121800. Address 971 Dugal Road. Owners 6375812 Canada Limited. Roll year 2023. Reference date April 1st, 2021. Assessed value $632,000. Yes, it's classification code 60, and the liability is taxable. One building built in 1959, 18-foot ceiling wall height. Zoning M2 manufacturing. Land area 86,748 square feet. Land area 2000 and yes, leasable area as well 2,914 square feet. Following pages provide aerial and street view of subject property. So what we're looking at is I guess a small a garage, which appears to be small compared to the land size there, but it is a relatively tall 18-foot high building. It's only about 2,914 square feet in size, so it's a smaller garage. On page 4, what I have there is I did look at what a land would sell alone if subject property was to be sold, and what we see is if we are to utilize assessed value of $632,000 and use parcel land size of 86,748 square feet, we would get that assessment for per land is $7.29 per square foot. Land sales comparables in Mission Industrial neighborhood range anywhere from $4.03 per square foot and going up to $23 per square foot. And I can speak to the property, I guess I just looked at the aerial view of the property on comparable number 1 there, Dupuy Avenue, and it is in inferior location compared to subject property. And that comparable number 3 without the street address, but it has a roll number of 0609346890. That is actually on a provincial boulevard, but east of the railroad. So on the other side of, so it is within the deep within the industrial zone of Mission Industrial. Again, would probably be an inferior location to subject property. So based on the land comparable, $7.29 per square foot for land appears to be supporting the assessed value of $632,000. Now, if we are moving to income stream, which is on page number 5, so it's a vehicle service related garage income stream. So 2,914 square feet with a rent of $16.09 per square foot. A potential rent $46,886. Standard application of 2% vacancy loss, $3% for expenses, $6 per square foot for shortfall, would get us a net operating income of $44,220,000. A capitalization rate of 7% would arrive at estimated value of $632,000. Page 6 is basically summary of what I just spoke about for income stream. Page 7, we're looking at 15 comparables, standard comparables used by the city in 2023 appeal cycle. So 15 comparables that have been presented and most likely will be presented in other appeal files, but have been presented in the previous one. They're identical comparables. And following that list, so I'll just mention quickly that again, we have average of 1642 and median of 1550 per square foot. Following pages would provide aerial view of the comparables, and I guess that would take us to page 23. So pages 8 to pages 22 are aerial and street view of the comparables that are being used for this brief. Page 23, table of capitalization rate table used by the city. And page 25 to the end of the report page is income and expense mailer presented by the property owner. And if you see on this, if you look at page 25, you would say that net income is checked off. And again, on page 28, net income is checked off. However, I just want to bring some information that was available in the notes about this property. Is that subject property owner, which is a numbered company 6375 812 Canada Limited, and the tenant J Transport are related companies based on the company search. That is why this would most likely be a case of a book rent. So that's all I have to present, and I'm open to your questions.
Thank you very much. Mr. Navarro, do you have any questions?
I do. Mr. Assessor, if I look at your land values and factor for or isolate the three largest properties, because this property is quite large, would you agree?
It is, yes.
Okay, then the most appropriate comparables are likely the three largest ones at 42,074 square feet, 44,598 square feet, and 128,232 square feet, correct?
I would agree with you, yes.
Okay, do you know what the average of those is?
As far as average price per square foot?
Yeah.
Well, let's look at number one is $4.40 per square foot. Number two is number three is $7.48 per square foot, and number what number it is? I should have put numbers. The last one is $4 per square foot. If we were to look at the average, it would of course get us an average of so we go 4.4 plus 4.3 plus 748 divided by 3. So we're getting us a $5.30 per square foot average. Now,
Okay.
With that, I just, if I can finish to be clear, the last one is the larger size, and the other ones are in, I would say, inferior location. That just to be clear, that's all I have. I guess I answered your question.
They are in the same neighborhood area though, correct?
They are in the same industrial park, but the subject property is on Dugald Road. And Dugald Road for that industrial park would be a major sort of major road.
Okay. And so that is why the model is adjusting the rate upwards?
Well, the rate per square foot, you mean, of the
Yes.
land? Okay.
The rate per square foot.
I did this, and on page 4, model land value, there is no such thing. I would ask the board to cross it out. It should have been just a land value. It was my error when I was typing it up, because I just arrived at the value of $7.29 per square foot using assessed value derived on income and dividing it by the lot size.
Okay. So then that is not really a land value that you were presenting there.
No,
right?
I'm just, yeah, this is presented in a
Okay.
way that assessed value, in a sense, $632,000 assessed value, in my opinion, would be supported by land value as well.
Okay. Now, in terms of your comparables, this is a very small building. Do you have a, let's see if we can find a picture of it. Is it that white building on page
Yeah,
3?
page 3 is a white building with the trucks parked in front of it, the green trucks, yes.
Okay. And from your comparable list again, which ones do you think are the best comparables for this?
Yeah, when we look at the comparables, I would have to go and say that comparable, like again, looking at the building alone, based on the building, comparable number 1 would be a good comparable for it. We have to adjust it for the land that subject property has. Again, comparable number 5 would be a good comparable. Again, adjusted for the lot. Have to be adjusted upwards for the lot. So those would be probably very good comparables. And comparable number 10, like if you could be considered as well.
Sorry, which one?
10.
I didn't catch that one. Which one?
Comparable number 10 would also be like, as far as the building wise, like if you just take one building into account, would be very similar, yes.
Okay, those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mann, do you have any questions?
Just one with respect to the, a couple of things, a couple of times you said adjusting the value as a result of the land. Does the model increase the rental per square footage as a result of either a land plan in excess of a certain amount, or does it take that into account?
Good question. I don't think I can answer that question right off the bat without consulting with the modelers.
Okay, thank you. I have nothing further then.
Thank you, Mr. Marks.
No, my question's been answered. Thank you.
Thank you. I have no questions. Mr. Navarro.
We have 971 Dugald Road. On page 6 and 7, you can see the pictures, bird's eye view overhead, and a picture of the building in question. It's a small building, only 2,900 square feet, 2,914 we have. We've used over, again, the same rental rates, which we discussed in the assessor's rebuttal. However, when we adjust this rent at $13, we feel that this is probably where it should be. In terms of vacancy allowance, 2%, shortfall 6%, non-recovered expenses of 5%, and we have a capitalization rate of 7.5 on this. I remember what the assessor used. 7%. So largely the big differences are rent, non-recoverable expenses, and the capitalization rate. We come up with a value of $455,680, and the current assessment is $632. The rest of the presentation is simply the expenses that were submitted by the owner, and that is my presentation. I'm open for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Navarro. Mr. Darkinoff, do you have any questions of Mr. Navarro's evidence?
Just 1 second. No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Mr. Marks?
None for me, thank you.
Mr. Mann?
None for me either, thanks.
Okay, and I'm good too. Mr. Darkinoff, do you desire summation?
I'm good, thank you.
Mr. Navarro?
I'm good, thank you.
Item number 5. 963 Dugald. Mr. Darkinoff, when you're ready, please.
May 963 Dugald. Boardroom revision file number 22-2605. Applicant Altus Group Limited, roll number 0605-1214-000. Address 963 Dugald Road. Owners 6375812 Canada Limited. Roll year 2023. Reference date April 1st, 2021. Assessed value $2,395,000. Classification code is 60. Liability is taxable. So property consists of 2 buildings, however, just 1 premise. Year builds 1965 to 1997. Wall heights range from 14 to 20. Zoning M2 manufacturing. Land area 73,260 square feet. This leasable area 13,168 square feet. Pages 2 and 3 provide again aerial and street view of the subject property. It is next to the previous file that we have just discussed, occupied by the same tenant, I believe. And okay, so for subject property has 1 income stream for the leasable area of 13,168 square feet. $14.86 per square foot is applied, which gets us a potential rent of $195,676. With the application of 2% for vacancy loss, 3% for non-recoverable expenses, $6 per square foot for shortfall, we get a net operating income of $184,429. Application of cap rate of 7.7% gets us an estimated value of $2,395,000. Yes. Subject property. If I ask the panel to move back just to get the panel members to be familiar with the property, consists of 2 buildings, and with pages 2 and 3 will probably show it to you. Bottom of page 2 shows you 2 buildings, which you can see 965 and 963. One, I believe, is an office building. The one is which is 963, and 965 is a pure vehicle related building. However, so the income stream is providing a blended one approach for the calculation of that, $14.86 per square foot. Again, rent comparables that are being used are exactly the same rent comparables that have been used before. And I will quickly just mention again that average is $16.42 per square foot and median is $15.50 per square foot. All right, I guess the order of pages got a bit mixed up here. Typically, you would see pictures of the comparable properties on the next pages, but I guess page 8 is capitalization rates. Page 10, 11, page 10 through 16 are income and expense mailer that was provided by the property owner. And again, as same as in a previous discussion, those would have been determined to be related companies. And page 17 through the last page are pictures of the comparables that are being used in this for this particular presentation. So that is all I have for my presentation. Then open to your questions.
Thank you very much. Mr. Navarro?
These are the same comparables that you've used again?
Yes.
I don't have any more questions.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mann, do you have any questions?
Just some clarification. This is the same company operating immediately next door to the previous, yet we have a different rent. Is this solely as a result of the size of the building, or is this just what the model has derived as a result of all of the variables put in?
Well, I guess all of the above, like size of the building, yes, and other variables such as age of the building and type of the building as well. So all of those things combined would provide a different rate, so size and all of the aspects combined with the model would consider to model has to consider when it calculates the rent.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Marks?
Yes, on the effective date built and the date built 1965 to 1997. Obviously, there was some building being done during those years. Was there any building permits taken out on this structure?
I would assume it has been. I did not check myself. Typically, the case is that when it's that old, you would have to go into archives to see what kind of building permits were taken out or not. So I would assume it has been. However, those are like, given the age of the building, are not readily available to view. So
Good question.
Thank you very much. I have a question on the cap rate. This is the highest cap rate we've seen so far today, used by the assessor or the appellant for that matter. So looking at your cap rate table on page 8, are you using a retail cap rate, an industrial cap rate? What cap rate are you using? Category
Yes.
of cap rates, I guess.
1 second, and I'll try to answer the question.
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
Yeah, I would have to say that if it is, and if this cap, yes, typically it would have to be an office cap rate if it's purely driven by the model.
Okay, I appreciate it's driven by the model, and I couldn't hear you. Did you say it was in the retail?
It would have to be an office capitalization rate.
Office. Okay. Okay, just curious because it is one of the higher cap rates we've seen. Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Navarro?
Yes. 963 Duville Road. You can see the pictures of the property on page 6. The area that we have is 12,940. So there is a discrepancy between what we have and what the assessor has. And we've based it on the actual owner's leasable area, 12,940 square feet. Now, in terms of the rent, we've taken it down a bit. In the previous example, for example, we used $13 for a 2,900 square foot building. This one is substantially larger, so we're bringing that rent down because of the larger size at $10 per square foot. And in terms of the vacancy, 2% shortfall, $6, non-recovered doesn't change. In terms of the capitalization rate, again, we've said it before, we're looking at an area that is really industrial in nature. It's not a bad property. And we've adjusted the capitalization rate to reflect that, more so on the industrial side. Again, because this is more so an industrial property. And in an industrial area. So you can see that again, we're not anywhere near where the assessor is. We're at 7% versus 7.7. I don't know about the office thing. I'm baffled by it. I think this is industrial driven, so you would have to apply a capitalization rate that is really taken from the industrial, less so from the retail. So we think this is somewhere in the middle of our Class B capitalization rates. So those range between 6.5 and 7.5, and we're right in the middle at 7%. So in terms of value, we're at 1,662,605, 1,663 rounded. And again, the big differences are obviously the capitalization rate, but the rent is obviously the largest one. And in terms of the additional information, it's just the submission from the owners. So I am open for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Navarro. Mr. Adarkanoff, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Mr. Navarro, just a quick question. So as far as the rent, you are using $10 and you stated that it is because of the size of the property. When I look at comparables that you have provided, and I kind of like comparable number 2, for example, it's a larger property of 22,000 square feet, well, almost 23,000 square feet actually. And the rate there is significantly higher than what you are applying. Would you be able to tell me why you chose to use the rate you're using?
Why I chose $10?
Yes, even though it's like what support do you have for $10?
Well, I would look more so at the property next door where I chose $13 and really for my rationale. So if I'm looking at $13 for a 2,900 square foot building, I'm not going to be looking at something above that for a substantially larger building. I recognize that 440 is there, but 440 is in Oak Point. It's a different area, and I would attribute it to that. It's a different area, so we're good with 10. However, at the same time, we have a substantially lower capitalization rate than you. So that also brings up the value of the overall value of the property, because we don't see as much risk in this property as your model. So
that's all I have. Thank you. Those are all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Marks?
Yes, on the square footage, it's broken up to 2,940 and 10,000. Is the 2,940 the office area?
I can't really say because I haven't been inside this property, but based on how they've split it up in the income and expenses, especially on the lease section on page, I believe 19. If you turn to that, you can see that the smaller space at 2317, at 2,940 square feet is noted as primary use 5. which is office. So
Okay.
you are correct. Yeah.
Thank you very much. No further questions.
Mr. Mann, do you have any questions?
Just with respect to the actuals noted, those your page, looking, it must be page 17, at least on my PDF, it's page 17 of your brief.
Yes,
This is owner occupied or related company occupied. Are those book rents or is that those actuals?
that's how we treat them, is book rents.
Okay, thank you. That's my only question.
Thank you, and I have no questions. Mr. Ardokanov, do you require summation?
I'm good, thank you.
Mr. Navarro?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move to item number 6 on our agenda. 930 St. Mary's Road. Mr. Ardokanov, when you're ready, please.
Okay, so file number 221456, applicant Altus Group Limited. Roll number 08002940000. Address 930 St. Mary's Road. Owner Manitoba Public Insurance Corporation. Roll year 2023. Reference date April 1st, 2021. Assessed value $3,714,000. Classification code is 60. Liability is G. Grantable. So, property consists of 3 buildings. Actual year built 1964 to 1985. Wall heights 10 foot to 17 foot. Zoning is C2. Land area 70,548 square feet. Leasable area 18,534 square feet. Following pages provide aerial and street view of the subject property. So, subject property is an MPI building located on the corner of Mulgate and St. Mary's Road. And on page 3, you would also notice property having an additional income stream, and I'll go into it a bit later. Our Dairy Queen outlet. So on page 5 for first income stream, I have an income stream for vehicle service garage. Two premise IDs compose 17,694 square feet with potential rent of $281,051. Respective rates are $15.72 and $16.12 per square foot being used. Vacancy loss applied is 2%. Non-recoverable expenses are 3% and shortfall rate of $6 per square foot. We get a net operating income of $265,044. Capitalization rate of 7.75%. It says estimated value of $3,420,000 for income stream number 1. Income stream number 2 is a restaurant RST income stream. Area 840 square feet. Rent used $22.21. Potential rent $18,656 with a vacancy loss of 6%. Non-recoverable expenses are 3% and shortfall rate of $8 per square foot. I'll get a net operating income of $16,608. Capitalization rate used is 5.65%. We get an estimated value of $224,000. Page number 7 combines income stream number 1 and income stream number 2 together. And the estimated market value for both income streams is $3,714,000. Page number 8 shows comparables used for ESG as well as RST comparables. So in this case, we're using only 5 ESG comparables. Unlike the previous 15, which were used throughout the entire spectrum, those 5 ESG comparables are also part of the previous 15, but are selected to represent slightly higher rent per square foot given given the building type that is being represented in this case, which is a NPI vehicle service garage with a better quality building in many cases. And the second income stream is RST comparables just below it. And what we have there are restaurant comparables that are being used. And for RST comparables, we have our minimum rate per square foot of $18, maximum is $78, and average and median are average is 39 and median is 29. And for VSGs, I didn't mention before, average is $19.95 per square foot, and the median is $20.50 per square foot. Page 9, capitalization rate tables. Following pages are income and expense reported by the property owner. And pages 15 through 19 are the comparables that are being used for VSG income statements. That's all I have, and I'm open to your questions.
Thank you very much. Mr. Navarro, do you have any questions?
Just to, these are the same rental rates that you've used for the other properties?
Yes, so basically, before I used 15, those are the part of those previous 15, just 5 were selected.
Okay. And your capitalization rate here again is high. Can you give us any input as to why it's coming out so high on the vehicle service garage?
Yeah, I would have to say that without, again, like the most logical answer would be that it is probably due to the age of the building, which is 1964.
Okay. And those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Navarro. Mr. Mann, do you have any questions?
I do with respect to the restaurant income stream. I see that the modeled rent is comparables support the modeled rent. Are any of these comparables seasonal restaurants? For example, only open say 6 months of the year from May to November?
1 second. Okay, so comparable number 1 is also a Dairy Queen. at $78.57 per square foot at 1030 Henderson Highway. So I would assume that one to be a seasonal perhaps. The other ones would probably be a year-round restaurants.
Okay. Do you know if this is a seasonal restaurant at the subject property or if it's year-round?
I would last time I drove by it last week, it was closed, so I would assume it's seasonal.
Okay, good enough. Thank you. I have nothing.
Thank you, Mr. Mann. Mr. Marks, do you have any questions?
Just one, is the restaurant building and property owned by the province as well?
It is owned by the same party, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and I have no questions, Mr. Navarro.
Okay, so we are looking at 930 St. Mary's. And if you turn to page 6, you can see a general overview and a bird's eye view on page 7. Now there is about a 50-50 split between office and garage at this location. And of course, there is the restaurant. So if you turn to page 11, we've gone with a rent of $12 per square foot on the main building, which is the MPI facility, and that one is 17,694 square feet. You can see that the market income that we've derived is $212,328. We have agreed with the assessor on the restaurant portion of the assessment in terms of the rent that we'll use. However, in terms of the vacancy, you can see that we've used 2% for the vehicle portion and 6% for the restaurant. Shortfall $6 per square foot for the VSG or the vehicle, and for the restaurant $8 per square foot. Non-recovered expenses, again, we're not deviating from that. It's 7% total. And in terms of the capitalization rates, we're deriving from the retail in this case. So from the 7.25 that we've looked at for the VSG, that would be the upper end or the lower, depending on what perspective you look at it, of the retail standard quality, 7.25. And for the restaurant portion, we are looking at 7.50 for the restaurant portion. Overall, our capitalization rate for the property is 7.27 if you combine the both income streams. And you can see that we've obviously dedicated 2 income streams to this property, and I would hope that it would be obvious why we did that. These are essentially 2 businesses. They're not like our gas stations where we have one business. So in terms of the net operating income in total, it's 207,299. And again, we've applied that the blended rate is 7.27% again. And the income value is 2,851,979 or 2,852. Now, in terms of the appendix, it's just what was submitted by MPI. And that is my presentation, and I'm open for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Navarro. Mr. Ardokanov, do you have any questions?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Right. Mr. Marks?
None for me, thank you.
Mr. Mann?
And none for me, thanks.
Okay, I don't want to go into great detail, but this is the first time we've seen a restaurant cap rate at this hearing. Can you just give us a little bit more information about restaurant cap rates?
Well, restaurant cap rates in general during the pandemic went up. And that's not a positive thing, because when they start going up, it means more risk to the property. The lower the cap rate, the less risk. So if you have, for example, something under 5, we're talking about a cap rate that has very little risk to it. As you start going up, more risk. So restaurants in general behaved not well during this period. And that is largely due to the pandemic. A lot of restaurants were affected negatively, and to some extent they still are. This is a seasonal facility, like many of these ice cream shops are. They're only open for part of the year. So again, you're not having that full year of income. That would add to the risk. In terms of location, it's not a bad location. But I mean, again, we've assigned an overall capitalization rate that we think is probably reflective of the property overall. But yes, the risk is the association, or sorry, the trend of the pandemic and what it did to restaurant properties in general.
And does it make a difference for sit down versus takeout restaurants? This is a takeout facility only, I believe. I can be corrected on that, but
yeah, I mean,
does it make a difference?
The McDonald's, all of those that have the drive-throughs probably would have done slightly better than the sit-down restaurants that had more of an occupant load and service, like staff servicing requirements. Those would have been more of a pronounced issue on, sit-down restaurants, definitely. But I think in general, I think just the curb in people's behavior during this period kind of changed in general. So I think even though this is not your sit-down restaurants, I think all restaurants were affected in some way.
So in terms of
Because
the cap rate, it doesn't really matter, or in terms of risk, maybe that's the better word. In terms of risk, it doesn't really matter if you're a takeout versus
I would say that
sit down.
I would say that if you were a sit-down, you would be higher. Yeah.
So what is a high cap rate for a restaurant?
Yeah, I would say probably above 7.5, 7. I mean, also, that this property is quite small, and it is open partially during the year. So even during the best of times, it's only going to be open part of the year. So.
Okay, thank you. I have no additional questions, so thank you for that. Mr. Adarkanov, is there a desire for summation?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Mr. Navarro?
No.
Okay. I'd like to just recess for a few minutes if everybody could stay where they are. We'll just recess for a couple minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to call the meeting back to order. We're going to resume now with item number 7 on our agenda, 1621 St. Mary's Road. Mr. Adarkanov, when you're ready, please.
File number 221227, applicant Altus Group Limited. Road number 080209699900. Address 1621 St. Mary's Road. Owner Red River Cooperative Ltd. Roll year 2023. Reference date April 1st, 2021. Assessed value $2,601,000. Class code 16. Liability taxable. 2 buildings. Year built 2004. 14 feet for wall height. Zoning C2. Land area 42,653 square feet. Leasable area 4,242 square feet. So what we're looking at is a Red River Co-op. Page 2-3 provide the aerial and street view of subject property. So what we have is a convenience store, car wash, and the actual gas station part of the property, which is canopy, fuel pumps, and somewhere underground gas tanks. All right, next, page 5. Kiosk, convenience store, 2,394 square feet. Rate used $42.23 per square foot. With a vacancy loss of 2%, expenses at 3%, and a shortfall rate of $6 per square foot. Get us an NOI of $95,818. Capitalization rate of 5.3%. Get us a capitalized value of $1,807,887. Additional building value, $510,000. And that is fuel related building value, which is fuel pumps, fuel tanks, and the canopy. And estimated value for income stream number 1 is $2,318,000. Next page, vehicle car wash, 1,848 square feet at $10.75 per square foot. Vacancy loss 2%, expenses 3%, and shortfall rate of $6 per square foot. Gets an NOI of $18,663. Cap rate 6.6%. Gets us an estimated value of $283,000. Page 7 provides a breakdown of what goes into additional building value. So highlighted yellow are the items that are part of the additional building value, which is again gas tanks, gas pumps, and the canopy. Page 8 provides a summary for both income streams. So total estimated market value is $2,601,000. Bottom of page 8 provides a blended rate for the value of $28.52 per square foot. And page 10, 15 comparables that are being used in this case. Again, similar, exactly same comparables that are used for the gas station related properties. Point out page comparable number 9, which is car wash and convenience store combination. Page 13, income and expense mailer, owner occupied property. And page 17 forward are I guess aerial and street views of this of the comparable properties being used. And then we'll come to your questions.
Thank you. Mr. Navarro, do you have any questions?
These are similar comparables that you've used in your previous gas station
Yes.
sales? Okay, and that's my only question.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mann, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Marks?
And none for me.
Okay, and none for me. Well, Mr. Navarro.
Okay, we're looking at 1621 St. Mary's Road. And you're going to see the pictures on page 6 and 7 of this location. So this is a combination gas station car wash. And in terms of the rent, we've used a $29 rent on this. And again, that is taking from those properties that are highlighted in green on page 11. So for vacancy, and just to remind you, we did combine the income streams here. So we have the same square footage, but we're combining them. Vacancy rate of 2%, shortfall of $6, non-recovered of 7. And in terms of the capitalization rate, we've gone with a 6.75 capitalization rate. And if you look at our chart, that is the retail standard quality. So that is the better side of the retail standard quality. And so we've adjusted the income of $1,653,475 on page 14, with $510,000 in cost elements. So those are the canopies, the pumps, and the tanks. And we get a value of $1,163,475. And obviously that's rounded to $2,163,000. The remainder of it is pretty much standard as the other properties that we've looked at. It's just the submission by the owner. And so I'm ready for questions.
Thank you. Mr. O'Donoghue, do you have any questions?
Just a quick question. As far as the cap rate goes, given that subject property is located on a major on a major road, which is St. Mary's Road, do you think you are applying an appropriate cap rate to it?
Well, it is on St. Mary's, but I hope I was being clear where I said those hubs. So those are the Sterling Lions, the Polo Parks, the Regent Avenue.
Would Saint Vital qualify?
Yeah, I would say that this is St. Mary's is a good road, just like Archibald is. Again, you're not in those hub areas, I would say, and that's why I called it retail standard quality.
Those are all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Marks, do you have any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Mr. Mann?
Just to confirm, are there 8 double pumps here? Looking at the deep so, but thought I'd just get you to confirm that.
If I'm looking correctly at this, I'm seeing at least 4 rows here. So each of those rows would have 1, 2, 3, 4. This might actually be 16 pumps.
Okay. Thank you. I have nothing further.
Thank you, and I have no questions. Mr. O'Donoghue, you desire summation?
I'm good, thank you.
Mr. Navarro?
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah. Item number 8 on our agenda is 2146 St. Mary's Road. Before we begin, I understand, Mr. O'Donoghue, that we have a preliminary issue we need to deal with.
Yes.
Could you please speak to that?
Okay, and just in 1 second, I organize the papers here before I start speaking about it. Okay, so the preliminary issue is that we ask that the burden of proof be placed on the applicant for non-cooperation under section 53(3)(b) of the Municipal Assessment Act, and if a reduction in assessment is ordered, that it follows section 54(3)(2) of the Municipal Assessment Act. Being non-compliance issue is further can be seen on page 19 of my report. Actually, page 19 would be the tail end of it, but that is Canada Post delivery confirmation that income and expense mailers information was delivered, and that starts on page 11 of the report. So the letter on page 11, 12, as well as the forms themselves on page 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18.
Mr. Navarro? Would you like to comment on the information presented by Ms.
I have no questions on the
non-co-op?
yeah.
Okay, Mr. Mann?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Mr. Marks?
And none for me.
Okay, we're going to have to quickly go in camera to discuss this matter.
Is 2,028,000. The requested was 1,613,000. However, we are requesting a confirmation.
Thank you, Mr. Navarro. Mr. Assessor, the applicant is requesting confirmation. Do you have any comments? Questions?
I don't have any comments or questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mann?
None. Thank you.
Mr. Marks?
None for me, thank you.
And I don't either. So thank you so much. That concludes item number 8 on our agenda. And I think that means you're done, Mr. Navarro. Thank you.
What's this in holding the waiting minute? Can I put us in the camera? Well,
Sure. We'll just recess for a couple minutes. I'd like to call the meeting back to order. Before we begin, I'll ask Mr. Lund to please affirm Mr. Neufeld.
Mr. Neufeld, please state your full name.
Rocky Neufeld?
Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're now dealing with item number 1 on our agenda, 874 Marion Street. Mr. Adarkanov, when you're ready, please.
So file number 222350, applicant Colliers International, roll number 0603191610, address 874 Marion Street, owner 3763391 Manitoba Limited, roll year 2023, reference date April 1st, 2021. Assessed value $4,622,000. Classification is 60. Liability is taxable. Number of buildings 1. Year built 1999 and through 2017. Effective year built 2010. Wall height 19 to 20 feet. Zoning M3. Land area 81,983 square feet. Leasable area 29,880 square feet. Okay. So following a couple of 2 pages, on page 2 and 3 provide aerial and street view of subject property. So it's an east side collision, vehicle related operation. Page number 5, income stream workup, leasable area 29,880 square feet, rent used is $12.25 per square foot. Vacancy loss 2%, non-recoverable expenses are 3%, shortfall rate at $6 per square foot. Those values give us a net operating income of $344,362. Capitalization rate applied is 7.45%, and that gives us estimated market value of $4,622,000. Page 6 provides a summary of income approach, and since we only have 1 income stream, it's the same information that I just discussed. Page 7, we use 10 comparables for vehicle related properties, and those are pretty much the same comparables, just a selection of 10 out of 15 comparables that have been presented to the board before. In here we get an average of 14.65 cents per square foot and $12.63 per square foot for the median. Following pages again, pages 8, 9, and let's see how far this goes. Page 8 through 17 provide aerial and street view of the comparable properties that are being used, and just to say that comparable properties are, subject property is would be larger than all of the comparable properties that any of the comparable properties presented, as well as it being okay, and then we have page 18, we have cap rate table, and pages 20 to the end of the report provide income and expense information that is being presented, and it's page 22 shows that it is an owner occupied property. Okay, so with that, I guess that's all I have, and then I'll take your questions.
Thank you very much. Mr. Neufeld, do you have any questions?
Yes. On page 5, was this valuation all done by the model?
Yes, it has been.
I'm sorry, I'm not hearing you very well.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yes, to the best of my knowledge, it has been done by the model, yes.
Okay, and when you have this, the parameters for here, these are based on it being vehicle service garage? Everything?
Yes.
The 2% vacancy, do you know the sample size that you have for the vacancy?
I do not know the answer to that question. I didn't.
Okay, you know, what does this include? I mean, I guess I'm wondering because most vehicle service garages are owner occupied and would never have a vacancy rate as an investment. So I'm just wondering, what is this comprising just what type of properties in general?
Okay. Well, again, like it's model driven. I don't think I can like honestly tell you what properties are being used by the model exactly to calculate that. So I don't think I have knowledge to answer your question.
Okay. On page 7, these rents, did you select these rents?
Well, those are typical rents that are being presented by the city for vehicle service garages. There's 15 rents altogether, and then it's further split into 5 higher end comparables and 10 lower end comparables, I guess. So those are 10 lower end comparables that are being presented.
Well, the subject being 30,000 square feet is much higher than all of your comparables. Most of them are very small, and yet this average came to 1222. Would you not think that the larger site should command a lower rent?
No, and I believe it is properly represented at, let me just double check, I think it's $12.25 per square foot. I think given the building age, like and that there is a significant part of the building that is relatively new, and the quality of the building, I think it's pretty well adjusted. Because yes, I agree with you that certain square footages we have there, most of the square foot, well, all of them are less, and a lot of them are relatively small. However, when we look at for example, the largest comparable would be comparable number 8 at 17,909 square feet. It's a 1979 building at $10.15 per square foot. So adjusting it for size, adjusting it for quality, I believe 1225 would be a good value for the subject property.
Well, yeah, but that one you're bringing up is still small, lower rent, $2 lower than your subject. And
no, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Adjusting it, and it's also 1979 built, right?
Well, in terms of that issue, have you inspected the subject?
I have not inspected the subject property.
And so, do you know the quality of the building, like what type of construction it is?
Based on our information we have, it's fireproof structural steel frame construction class. So it is that's a type of construction there. Like it's a vehicle service garage. It's
well, is it metal prefabricated or is it full frame? Do you know that?
Excuse me, what was the second part? So metal
Well,
prefabricated.
typically there's two types of construction you would see in this, a pole frame, which is just a low load bearing, a steel frame, or metal pre-engineered, which is they bring in the beams off, make them off site and haul them in and erect them. I'm just wondering if you knew, what how this was made.
I see. I don't have the information on me to answer the question.
Okay, well, I mean, looking at the pictures, would you have an opinion as to how this was constructed?
I wouldn't have an opinion on how this is constructed by looking at the pictures.
Okay. And your comparables, I'm looking at them, of course, our subject is a body shop, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and your comparables, which you've got listed, 75 Staticona, what is this?
It's
Is this
a
body shop or a garage?
it's a garage. Most of them are garages. I believe there is only one body shop there, which is
Yeah, okay.
maybe there is one. Maybe I don't know if it's part of this particular selection. I know there is a point out about it part of the largest selection. I don't think it's part of this selection.
And the next one, 3331 Portage, this is a muffler shop, masonry construction, correct?
Yes.
Okay, do you think they can do body work in there?
Okay, so comparable number two.
Yeah,
From the looks of it, probably not. I don't think it's set up for that.
right. And the same question on Chevrier, that's not a body shop either, is it?
I don't think so.
And 721 watt old gas station with the pumps, were the pumps part of the rent?
Well, 721 watt in this case represents only the vehicle service part of it, which is in the back. So to my knowledge, it's pure net of the section of the property that is not a gas station. So I don't think a gas station or pumps are part of this. That's a separate rent that is being paid by the gas station.
And I'm just looking at these, and most of these appear to be located on main roads, like Henderson's, the next one Henderson, next one St. Mary's, and you've got a Portage Avenue. Aren't most of these in superior locations?
Well, when it comes to it, like a lot of them, you're right, on Pembina Highway, which would be St. Mary's, Henderson, they would be St. Mary superior locations.
Okay, and I mean, we could go through them one by one, but I guess you're saying that most of these are superior locations. Now, what about zoning? Under which zoning are you aware of? Can you do body shop work?
I did not research the zoning part in relationship to the limitation of the body shop.
No, okay. The subject is located in an industrial area, correct?
Yes, yes.
And the closest housing to the subject property, do you know how far away it is from residential areas?
Well, there is a small section of housing on Marion, closer to La Jumadière. That probably would be the closest.
That is some distance away, though, isn't it?
Well, I would say a couple of blocks, perhaps.
Well, for example, there's a site across the street which is got a house, but that's another body shop in a converted house, correct?
Which one are you talking about?
At the corner of La Jumadière and Marion on the northeast corner.
Okay, what about it?
It's a body shop as well, but it's in a converted house. It's not a house. Is
Is
correct.
is it
I
part
just
of
want-
my?
If
Yeah,
you're not,
I,
if you're not aware, that's fine. Okay, you know what? Those are my questions.
Thank you, Mr. Neufeld. Mr. Mann, do you have any questions?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Mr. Marks?
Nor do I, thank you.
Thank you, and neither do I. So, Mr. Neufeld.
Thank you. So 874 Marion is a body shop, and built in 2 stages. The owner and the landlord are separate entities, and my involvement with them was first on the basis of establishing a rental rate for the 2 parties to be arm's length. And that, as you note from the assessor's evidence, appears to be about $760 a square foot net rate on this site. So there were some overlapping parties involved in the transaction between the operational side and the ownership side. The point being is they hired a professional to establish an arm's length rental rate, and that's what it is. This is a simple building. It is pole frame construction, as they say, which is a smaller gauge steel frame, non-weight bearing, so you can't hang hoists or anything on it. It's just a very, very basic industrial building, very cheap industrial building. Basically, it's the cheapest form of construction you can do and still get an occupancy permit. And its location being in the industrial park. It's M3 zoned, which allows for body shop use. Body shop use does have restrictions, and we did put our zoning table in this chart, and you'll see that on page. I just want to look for the auto parts, page 13. And that the zoning that you can put auto repair in, it's permissible in the C2 to CMU, as well as MMU all the way to M3. But you'll note that there's an asterisk, which stands for site-specific issues. So a body shop is not necessarily always approved, and it'll be based on the proximity to residential dwellings, but it's always been deemed to be more noxious than typical service operations. And that goes back to the old days when the paint booths used to spew out a lot of fumes. Modern paint booths, of course, are contained, and they're not emitting any sort of fumes. But the zoning the restrictions are still in effect. You do have to seek approval. You will have to face the residents, which is why you're not going to see a lot of body shops in populated areas unless they were grandfathered in. Interesting aside, one of the first jobs I ever took was a body shop that went bankrupt, and we had a year to find another user, or else they would lose their ability to be a body shop. It happened to be next door to Councillor Vandel's house, and we found one on the 364th day. But that is a locational factor to deal with. Now the paid rent is $760. You'll note that we put in $8, and that's because the paid rent was set about 5 years ago. So we took a more recent view of the market on page 3, and the bottom of page actually page 3 has got a number of body shops in here. I'm just starting to glance through them. Midway through 700 More, this was rented by the same owner as the subject at $6 a foot. That rent was set in 2016 for a smaller space. They did end up buying the building 2 years later, but the rent was set before they bought the building. Same ownership as this one. The next body shop of note was 983 Wall, and this is an older building in a location. It's a I forgot the name of the franchise body shop. Probably at the lower end of the range, $475 a foot. Next is 2535 Inkster, and this is in the arm of Rosser. And you know what? Tenants don't care if you're in the arm of Rosser or if you're in the city of Winnipeg. This is a rental rate. And there's no prohibition against using outside Winnipeg rates because we're talking about a real estate market, not city boundaries. This was the old Peterbilt dealership. It was converted to a body shop for trucks. The tenant is the same tenant as Eastside, the subject property. And you know, this was, this information, this was renewed in August 2016 and August of 21, and the renewals were also at $8 a square foot. Sorry, we didn't update our dates on this. It was a cut and paste. But again, it's an $8 rate for a body shop, a fair-sized one. The next one, 1861 Pembina. Actually, no, sorry, that's not a body shop. Further on down, the last three are Boyd's, and these were all from 2016. So the one on Dudley is off of Pembina Highway. That's $815 a foot. King Edward is at $842 a foot, and Scurfield, which is kind of an interesting one, is it was a former hatchery, was purchased and converted and rented to Boyd at $905 a square foot, and that reflects at $905 consideration for a better location. Scurfield over Marion. It's just a more desirable part of the city for body work because greater populations around it that will feed it work. So I think the $8 number is well supported by actual body shop rents, and the ones I'm citing to you have all been inspected as well, so we know that they're body shops. We know, and we have all the rental details. We know that they're net rents. We know there's no influences in them. In terms of vacancy, there's no such thing as a automotive vacancy rate, mostly because many of these are owned, so the investment market is low, and vacancies don't usually show up as a result because there's no landlord out there advertising it for rent generally. What we looked at is, because this is an industrial building in an industrial neighborhood, industrial rates should be applied. We looked at the city rate of 6.2, St. Boniface at 5.8. The mean is 6%. That's a very reasonable number. Non-recoverables are included because they exist. Every property has non-recoverable costs. The city's model is wrong. The rest of the world disagrees with it. City has it in their modeling. It's improper. It's actually misleading to a potential investor to say there are no non-recoverables, because there are. Our own table on pages 34, 35 is a mix of retail, industrial, and office buildings. Our average non-recoverable is 9.81%. These expenses do not occur every year, but they're intermittent and they average out. The 5% is a very well established number in the marketplace. Shortfalls, in this case, we've calculated the actual at 681 a foot, and we're not much different from the assessor's number. Again, but it's based on actuals. If we're using actual rent, actual vacancy rates, actual non-recoverables, we need an actual shortfall. It's not a major factor other than for consistency and reliability. Lastly, the capitalization rate. I'm not going to bother talking about it. We're almost the same rate, so there's nothing to be said one way or another. So our final value is $2,623,000. We always put in last year's number. That is under appeal. We have split decisions on this. We had a 2019 supplemental that came in at $2 million. And the same hearing, the 2020, came in at 3.8 million. So I am very, very confused. So we did file an appeal, and the 2,623,000 does slot in very nicely with the numbers that occurred beforehand. And that is my final opinion of value.
Thank you, Mr. Neufeld. Mr. Darkanoff, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do. Mr. Neufeld, so page 3 is basically your comparables, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, so the rest of the pages probably are not as relevant. Is that correct?
Oh, no. And that's just, I've got to tell you the truth. It's just being a bit lazy and not, and just doing a cut and paste.
Okay. So when I look at page 5 of the, I guess, auto related accounts, you pointed out some of the auto body shops here. So again, like some of them are gas stations and so on. Again, like you probably would want to focus on auto body shops. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's what I was reciting, the body shop rents that are in
Yeah.
there. And some of
Yeah.
these are different uses, and some of these are related uses. We're just trying to look at the body shop ones.
Okay, I think then my next question: do you like when you look at those body shops that you have presented? Can you speak as to the age of the buildings, how and the quality?
Sure. And I'm going to be approximations here. 700 Maury is probably, I think, built in the 80s and almost identical quality to the subject. What was the next one? 983 Wall was built in the 50s and it is inferior. 2535 Inkster was the mid 70s and it's superior because it's masonry, steel frame masonry with support to put hoists from the rafters. It was built to haul motors out of trucks, so it has a stronger frame. It's superior. And what was my next one here? The Dudley is built in the 50s, and I think it's got a superior location, but it doesn't have enough land. King Edward, I can't recall the exact age of it, but it's got a lot of land and it's comparable quality. Scurfield is built in the late 80s. It is superior building. It's a superior location.
Okay, thank you. Another question would be, so subject property was built in 2 stages. So most recent was built in 2016. Is that correct?
Yes.
And when I looked at the permit, $1.4 million rounded, that's basically the declared value on the permit. In your opinion, is that what you would refer as a cheaply built addition?
Yeah, it's a cheap building, and the permit was taken out. I mean, there's 2 costs to consider in the permit that would differ on the expansion. First of all, it's an expansion, so it costs more money to join 2 buildings together than it is to build them outright, because you've got to match up foundations, make sure they don't move. Second issue is there's ventilation equipment that is a business expense that's got to be included in the permit value. You don't get value out of that on a rental basis. That's business equipment, but you need superior air handling equipment. And that would drive that permit value up.
Those are all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mann, do you have any questions?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Mr. Marks?
None for me, thank you.
And neither do I. Mr. Darkanoff, is there a desire for summation?
I'm good, thank you.
Mr. Neufeld?
Just it's a inexpensive building in an industrial neighborhood. It's industrial and nothing dressy or fancy about it. And I think it should be treated as such. That's all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Neufeld. So, we have now heard all the items scheduled and this hearing is now adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Have a good evening.
Thanks. Have a good day.
Thank you later.
Bye now.
Bye.